Breaking news! Historic has been shaken up, or we say shaken up, it's actually got kind of not the bands we were expecting or wanting, but it's also had some errata done to the digitally exclusive cards, which I think, in essence, is good, but I think how they're going about doing it is wrong. Let's talk about all this and more in today's "Oh my god, they banned something" video. Bans. So they have finally banned Tibalt's Trickery. If you weren't aware, Tibalt's Trickery allowed you to trickery into random fucking things that were way too good. You'd either cast it on a 0-drop to go get yourself an Ugin, or you would cascade into it off of Throws of Chaos, and then you would counter the Throws of Chaos and go get an Ugin, or an Urgent Ultimatum, or an Omniscience, or some other big, powerful spell. Essentially, it was a very low skill floor deck that basically just randomized whether it won, because sometimes it could whiff, it could hit the wrong thing, you could get a bad ultimatum, and so on and so on, but ultimately it wasn't healthy for the format, and we all knew it was going to go. Eventually, I've done many a video talking about Tibalt's Trickery, and whether or not it really needs to be banned. I've always said that it wasn't really a high win rate or oppressive deck in like competitive circles, especially in best of 3 we had Cyber Tech for it, but I didn't think it was ever healthy to have it in the format. Beyond that, everyone's favourite 1-drop spell that ruins Legacy is also now banned in Historic. This is a weird one because I haven't been playing with Brainstorm in Historic when I've been playing Delver or other decks that run blue. I probably wouldn't play it in Murphy, but anyway, we haven't been playing with it because it's been suspended. The problem with suspension is that you don't get cards refunded, you don't get wild cards back. When a card is banned, Wizards should give you a wild card to replace that upon logging in, but they didn't do that with Brainstorm because it's been suspended for like 3 months or something ridiculous. Either way, it's finally gone, so we should be getting our wild cards back for that. Rare wild cards too. I'll come more to that about the whole wildcard issue in a second. And then finally, they've just done it again with suspending Memory Lapse. Now, I've also talked about how I think Memory Lapse isn't great for the format either, and it also props up decks like Creativity that probably needs a bit of a push down in my humble opinion. So getting this out of the format is good, but a suspension means that it could come back in a few months or a few weeks if they feel like it, and you won't be getting your wild cards whilst it's not playable. I think this is bad to ransom players' collections because Historic is already too expensive to get into in the first place, for reasons I'm going to come to more in a second. I don't think they do this on purpose. I don't think someone has nefariously sat there at Wizards of the Coast thinking, oh, let's take people's wild cards away from them. I think it's just a byproduct of a shit system and it should be fixed. I think suspensions are fine, but refund people's wild cards, and then if they rebuild them later on, then who gives a fuck, right? Ultimately, suspension, refund wild cards, and then people rebuild them later on, and then you ban it or whatever. Like, you can manage it just by giving some wild cards back. I think Wizards of the Coast can take the small hit of giving some back a wild card. I mean, what is the cost of a fucking wild card? Honestly, to Wizards of the Coast, I mean, it's literally nothing. There is probably a number put on it somewhere by some member of staff whose job is to figure these things out for Wizards so they can estimate costs and stuff, but ultimately it has no real world cost. They could just give players a few wild cards here and there when they do bans and suspensions as a goodwill gesture. As a point of, you know what, we care about the community, we care about the users of this game, we care about having a good relationship with our customer base, so here's some wild cards. Because it harms them little, but it does a huge, huge thing for making things more accessible and less or a bitter taste in your mouth when things get banned and suspended. On the upside, I think like the Memory Lapse getting suspended doesn't probably delete an entire archetype. It will make things weaker or change things and change your composition of your decks, but you don't lose an entire archetype over it. Same with Brainstorm in many ways, but I still feel that people should get refunded when cards are no longer playable when they may have crafted them for a reason. Like, you know, you crafted this to fucking play with it. Now you can't play with it, so you should be refunded. It's as simple as that. Then we come to the mechanically unique cards. Davriel's Withering, Davriel himself, what else? Faceless Agent, Sarkhan Wanderer of Shiv, and Subversive Acolyte. All these cards are getting multiple changes, in some cases a little change. They're all on the screen here, which is probably a bad green screen when I put a shadow on it. Don't put a shadow on it, Vince, for fuck's sake. The biggest change of all of them is Davriel's Withering and Davriel, where they now only affect opponents' creatures, which makes them, I don't know, less oppressive, I guess. The old Withering here, as you can see, target creature perpetually gets -1, -2, and the new one is target a creature an opponent controls gets perpetually -1, -2. The combo used to be with Vesperlark. You would use this to give your Vesperlark an infinitely 0 power and toughness, and then you'd loop it back and forth by recurring it with itself, with this trigger that can target itself out of the graveyard. Then you have some sort of Aristocrats combo piece or payoff, a Zulaport Cutthroat, or the enchantment that is similar from Ikoria, and then bada bing, bada boom, you're pinning your opponent down, pew, 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 and that's the combo. Now people have this card in their collection that doesn't do what it used to do. It's the reason they crafted it, and well, fuck you, I guess. There's an argument that this card is at common, so therefore it's not as much of a problem as if they did this with a rare. But that's, well, there's a few problems with that. Firstly, both Davriel and Sarkhan have both been effectively nerfed. Not effectively, they have been literally nerfed. Davriel only affects the opponent's side of the board now, which is not a nerf if you think about Mind Slavers, but we're not going to get that strictly better fucking semantic loop bullshit. So Davriel has lost some of his effectiveness, and Sarkhan as well has had a 0 costing ability put to a +1 ability, which is actually less of a nerf and more of a power up. Huh. In my notes I've written as a nerf, I just realised it's a power up. Interesting. So maybe Sarkhan isn't actually going to require some sort of refund, to be fair, but Davriel and Davriel's Withering do. These are literal nerfs. And one of these is a fucking mythic. Now, there's an argument you could have opened these in packs, but again, the way that Jumpstart was distributed wasn't you can just crack packs to get all the commons. You had to play the thing. It wasn't as expensive as people was claiming because you get 3 packs for 300 gold. It's the same as buying them from the store. It just took more time to click through to get your packs if you were opening packs and then conceding, opening packs and conceding from the event. The problem is there is a precedent to be set. If they are going to nerf cards that then make them unplayable or completely remove a deck archetype from the format, the Vespel Art combo no longer works. You may have crafted other cards to get this deck, and then this change has then made those cards unplayable. The point I'm getting at is that a precedent has to be set. Wizards of the Coast should be, again, for goodwill and make the community happy, and just to create a good rapport between us and them, the people who want to play Historic and them making the Historic format. Give us the fucking cards back when you change them to a point that we don't want to play with them anymore and we wouldn't have crafted them in the first place. And this happens in other card games, by the way. This is not just some fucking extremely exciting thing that I've come up with. Hearthstone, when it bans or changes cards, and it normally changes. Actually, has there ever been an actual ban? But when they changed the cards, like they did with the Grim Patron when I was playing back when Warrior Control was a thing, that deck was sweet. When cards change, they allow you for a window after the change to dust the card for full money. Dusting means that you basically delete the card from your account and you get a portion back of the money you used to construct it. So a portion of the wild card, shall we say. You get 2/3 of a wild card, 1/3 of a wild card back. They give you the full refund, the full wild card, shall we say. It's a dust system, but the full wild card when you refund in that window. Now, dusting is not on the table here because we cannot take cards that we no longer use and refund them back into the system for wild cards because Wizards of the Coast are greedy. And I say that not because I want to say that the staff there are all, again, rubbing their hands like greedy little fucking capitalist goblins or whatever. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that this system of not allowing us to dust is to encourage us to spend more money. We get no return on our investment in terms of being able to refund things back in and use the system to go infinite and stuff. That's just not an option. So in lieu of dusting, they can just give you a fucking wild card back. Again, giving you back 4 or 8 wild cards in this circumstance, or rares for the Davriel. Well, I say there's 4 for the Davriel mythics and 4 commons for Davriel Withering, which were literally nerfed. All the ones got buffed, don't have to refund those, right? 4 and 4 commons, 4 commons, 4 mythics. What that costs them? Literally nothing. But what does it do? It improves the relationship between consumer and company. Now, some of you are going to be typing in the comments already that they don't give a fuck about the consumer. They are not consumer advocates. They are a capitalist company and a capitalist society. And I'm fully fucking aware of that. Thank you for pointing out the fucking obvious, Mr. or Mrs. or in between Captain fucking Obvious over there. I am so fucking tired of pointing out the problems within the game for someone to turn around and tell me that they're not your friend and they're here to make money. Like, you don't have to tell me that water is wet or that my cock is a huge throbbing monster. We already know these things. Stop saying the obvious shit. Try and give us a bit more nuance or a bit more of a valid response that helps to further the conversation other than saying, oh, look at me, I know what capitalism is. Even if you can't say it or pronounce it. Look, originally they wanted to make it that every card you crafted that was historic legal and not standard legal would cost you 2 wild cards. Some of you might not remember this, some of you might be newer to the game and not know this. I did a video on this saying it was going to kill historic on arrival. Wizards, please don't do this. There was a community outcry. Everyone thought it was fucking ludicrous, and it was them being quite disgustingly greedy. And you know what? Community outcry meant that they went back on that whole thing, did a fucking U-turn. And we don't have a double cost for historic cards, which would have made the format unfucking playable. In recent time, we had an issue where Brainstorm, a card that has historically been a fucking common in every format under the fucking sun, is a rare thanks to the Strixhaven Mythical Archive distribution model in paper packs. And they just said fuck it and did the same thing for online. So you'd spend rare wild cards to open your common cantrip on the fucking arena economy. I just burped as I spoke there, I'm not going to cut that bit, which was fucking ludicrous. Not enough people made a fuss. I did say that I thought it was disgusting, but I didn't make enough of a fuss either, and I should have done. And I've gotten away with it, and that cost you fucking mythic and rare wildcards to craft faithless lootings and brainstorms? What the actual fuck? The point I am getting at is that as consumers, we don't have to boycott everything, but we can make a very vocal rejection of a new system to point out that it's dog shit and they can do better to do better by us and themselves. We, by the very minimum of spending money on their fucking program and their fucking platform, deserve to be treated like not pieces of shit. Now, I think this is the least greediest. This whole Davriel withering, Davriel not getting the refund thing and just getting changed is a minimal, a small thing compared to the double wildcard stuff, which was fucking ludicrous. So I'm not saying for us to like get placards and march outside Wizards of the Coast HQ. What I'm saying is that as a community, we can have these conversations without half of us just being big brain dickheads by saying, no, it's just capitalism, baby. The truth of the matter is that I am quite enjoying Arena at the moment. I really like Historic. I just think the economy is strangling formats like Historic, and seeing more and more things like this that make the format effectively more expensive to get into because your cards can become even more worthless more quickly because of Errata and stuff is bad. I mean, I haven't even touched upon the idea that this Errata is a problem, or that digital-only cards shouldn't get Errata. And some of you out there are probably thinking, Vince, I hate these cards, why don't you hate them too? Because, I don't know, I'm not a fucking dinosaur, I don't mind when things get changed a little. And something I did see was that not getting refunds for this is like your comeuppance for supporting digital-only cards. I also saw some people joke that Trickery shouldn't give you a refund because you were a bad person for playing the Trickery deck. If you are like spouting into this anti-consumer shit against your fellow Magic players who are already getting ripped off by this company, you're a fucking idiot. Don't be that person. So that's it. That's the banned, restricted and suspended announcements. The full link will be in the description below. I would love to hear what you think here. Like, I'm willing to be wrong on some of this stuff, but surely if they're taking a deck away from you, if they're removing the functionality of the card that you crafted, you should get a fucking refund. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you all soon. Be good to one another, hit the like button, all that shit, and ta-ta for now.